Welcome to Fishing for Bees. This is my YouTube channel on swarm catching and beekeeping and everything related. If any of that interests you, please like and subscribe. Today we're doing a quick video on wax rendering the wax down to candle grade and cosmetic grade. I don't normally get into brood comb or anything like that, so this is all wax cappings. This is all yellow. This is all pristine wax. If you want to see what happens after this point as far as the candles that we make in the lip balm, please like, subscribe, and comment. Elena does all that, so any positive feedback on whether you want to see those processes would be appreciated, and that might help get Elena on this side of the camera. She's here today filming for me, and I'm grateful for that. We do have a review of the Hilco extraction tank, so look for that. But again, this video is on wax rendering, so we wanted to show you how we get the wax out of the extraction tank. So in here is the cappings from our first extraction using this tank. You want your wax cappings dry, free of honey the best you can, and this capping tank certainly did a great job of that, so we're really pleased with that process. So we're going to show you from the cappings all the way through the rendering down to the final mold of the wax. First thing that you need is a crock pot. So your crock pot, don't think that once you use the crock pot for this process, it's going to be able to go back and make your stew. It's not going to be able to. Once it's used for wax rendering, it's toast. And it needs to continue to be used for wax rendering because you're never going to get it clean again. So don't steal the kitchen crock pot and think you're going to be able to get it back into use for kitchen use. I would recommend a larger one than this. This is just one that I had that we weren't using anymore, but the next size up certainly works a lot better. All right, so any extracting is a messy process, but equipment certainly helps, and you can do this with anything. You can get your wax out of a cheesecloth. You can get your wax out of a strainer. We're just going to show you this part. So dry wax, if the drier the better, and this tank works great for that. The nice thing about wax is you can push it down real far. So these were burr comb or possibly wax that was drawn on the bottom side of traps in a swarm trap. So I just take them. I only keep the clean ones. Again, this is for our candles and this is for our lip balm, so this isn't brood comb. So this is first drawn wax that they didn't get to use, and I'm okay with rendering that down with our wax cappings. So you just take the wax cappings, put them in here. Looks like a lot, but it's not. I'll show you in a second how much you can fit even in this smaller crock pot. You're going to need to add water, but don't be worried that you're pushing this down too much and you're not going to leave space for water. You can never compress this enough that the water won't find those voids for your rendering process. So this was 17 frames. If you're wondering how much fits in this little crock pot, I'd say about 20 frames is a good run. You don't want it completely full because you do need to get water in here. There's no need to push it down anymore because I know I'm going to fit it all. If I was still concerned whether I was going to fit it, I'd be smashing it down. So now you got your wax cappings either from a cheesecloth, a strainer, or from an extracting tank. Whichever you have is fine. Now you want to add your water. So any size crock pot works. Just matters the volume that you can process. You want to get enough water in here to come all the way to the top, not too far. You don't want your wax boiling over, which brings me to another point. I do this in the garage. I don't do this in the house. If there's any mishaps, they're easier to fix in the garage than they are in the kitchen. So you can see it's bubbling, it's finding the air voids, it's working its way down. I won't bore you with us waiting here. Just know that I'm going to fill this all the way to the top, put the lid on, and then we're going to plug it in and start melting it. All right, so here we go, step 2 of the rendering of wax. A couple things you need to know is make sure you obviously have enough container to pour your crock pot in. You don't want to fall shy on the volume. That can make a big mess. Also, this is your final mold. This bucket is my final mold, so you want to keep that in mind when you're doing this. You don't want a bucket that's too big and you get a little thin layer of wax. You want something that's manageable. So I'm not sure the gallons on this. I think it's 1.5, but it's just a food grade bucket, you know, a normal icing tub, and a repurposed honey strainer. So this removes the slum gum up on top here, the slum gum. So a repurposed honey strainer, again, just like with the crock pot, you're not going back. Once you've used this for wax, you're not going to use it for straining honey again. So this is hot. You need to be careful. So here we go. It's water, wax, and slum gum. At the end with the water, I like to kind of just move around a little bit, make sure I get the wax melting and going through. Finish it off like that, and then don't play with it. You want to let it sit. Don't move it around. Don't check it. That's how you'll get wax that has bits in it and not a nice solid puck. So once you're done with this, place it somewhere to let it cool, and don't touch it for 24 hours. And we'll come back then. All right, so here we are now a couple days later. As you saw, we heated the wax cappings with the water and then poured it through the screen. I will say that I did it twice. I didn't bother filming the second time. I've noticed that if there's a lot of honey still in your cappings, and there really wasn't a ton in the ones that we had, but there was honey in there, that when the wax cools, it's not solid. It's hard to explain. It has like little balls of wax within the water, which you're still going to have in here, but it has too much of it. So I pour it out, I let it become solid, I bust it up again, and I put fresh water in, and it seems the second time it comes out to be a lot better, more of cosmetic quality, more of, you know, pristine wax candle quality. So remember, this is your mold, as I told you. We'll have Elena come over here and show you. One of the things that happens when there's too much honey is this won't be a solid puck. It'll have like cracks in it. And that also could be because it cools too slow. You actually want this to cool fast to get a nice puck. So as I said before, this is your mold. You want to get it to break from the sides. Okay, so it takes a little bit of work to get it. This is what I was talking about. There's a lot more of this when there's a lot of honey mixed into the heated and melted wax. This, you can just take a putty knife and scrape it off. This will come off, and you just take that layer off and you'll get a much better puck. So I will also rinse this in water, fresh water, not this water. So here you go. Again, the reason why I use this bucket is because these pucks fit perfectly in a 1-gallon Ziploc bag. So once this is washed off, scraped the way I want it, I will also say that let it completely dry before you do the scraping, and sometimes you can get it to come right off, and there's always going to be a little residual. Rinse it off thoroughly. One of the things that I will do before I put it in a Ziploc bag is I'll set it on its side and I'll let it dry thoroughly for a couple days. If this is wet and you put it in the bag, then it has the potential to grow mold, and when you go to pull it out 6 months later, then it's got mold on it or growing stuff. When you let it dry thoroughly, this is what you end up with. We'll have Elena come over again too. You can see on the bottom of that one's been scraped and cleaned, how it's just in better shape. So you'll get these particles off. At this point, I wouldn't run it again. This is pretty much the best you're going to get it. Obviously, if you use maybe a cheesecloth or something that grabs even finer particles, you could probably get it cleaner than this, but this is actually perfect for what we use it for. Let it dry thoroughly before you put it in the Ziploc bag. As reference, this is all of last year's honey extractions, the first and the second added together, and this one is 17 frames. So about 17 frames. The candles are going to use up a lot more. The lip balm does not use much at all, and the lip balm obviously has a better price point for what you can sell it for as far as how much wax you're using. But that's all time consuming, and maybe we'll do a video on that if you want, as far as what we do with it after this point. But this is our rendered wax. This is beautiful. I'm really happy with this. I will clean it up some, let it dry thoroughly, and then store it. So thanks for watching. I hope your bees are well.